All right, on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, I want to thank all the members of the press who are here this afternoon. I don't have any specific agenda necessarily, other than to stand before you to answer some questions about any particular issue that may have arisen over the last 4 months. The House Democratic Caucus is grateful that the 2014 session has ended, if not just so that our folks can go back home and be with their families, but also because some of the less than pleasant legislation that was aimed at many folks in the state of Oklahoma is now dead, hopefully. We look at this 2014 legislative session and look back on it with some real disappointment. If you are a veteran in the state of Oklahoma, if you're a teacher, if you're in college, if you are a senior citizen in a nursing home, a variety of folks. The vast majority of the people of the state of Oklahoma did not fare well this session. If you're someone who's looking to come to work for the state of Oklahoma, the pension plan that passed out of this session is not good for you. And so on the whole, we think it was a pretty disappointing session, marked by not only bad legislation, but also marked by some real ugly infighting between the governor and the House Republican leadership. To have the governor stand up and veto bills, not because she cared about their merits or disagreed with them on the merits, but just because she wanted to play politics and wag her finger at the legislature, is pretty disappointing. And she turns around and says, well, it somehow worked. I think that's an insult to the Speaker and the Republican majority in the House. I think when you look at the fact that she had a couple of vetoes overridden, and then other vetoes that she had were effectively overridden when she was forced to accept that same language in new legislation, that demonstrates that I'm not sure the governor was as successful as she thought she was. But we can get into a variety of issues, and I'll just kind of open it up to whatever you all have on your mind. Well, that's tough to say the worst bill passed. Off the top of my head, I'd say that the pension package, which I think will go down in years to come as one of the worst decisions of the 2014 legislative session. I think that the pension plan will do more to increase turnover at the state in our state agencies, which will only increase cost for our state agencies. It will be tough to use that as a recruitment tool. I think it also so not only does it hurt us on the front end in terms of costing our agencies more money, and also hurting us in terms of recruitment, but also you look at what will happen many years after most of us have left this building, 20, 30 years from now. I think you'll see a group of state employees retire into poverty or near poverty under this pension plan, with no guarantee that they'll have any real retirement benefits to protect them and their family in their golden years. And so in my opinion, that was the worst piece of legislation. When you look at them basically raiding $290 million of revolving funds and one-time money to patch a budget together that on the whole is still bad, because most state agencies took a 5% cut, and those agencies that were held flat, like higher education, needed additional money just to cover increased cost, and so they've essentially taken an effective cut. When they've robbed $290 million or plus dollars out of revolving funds and one-time money to patch this budget, what you see next year is we start off next year immediately with $291 million in the hole for next year's budget. They've got to find a way to backfill that money. Now, some of those revolving funds, they say, will continue to refill, but there may be $120 million worth of those types of funds, leaving $170 million plus that's just gone. You couple that with the fact that budget numbers aren't necessarily improving, and in a couple of years, when we grow by just a percentage or so, we're going to have another income tax cut, which is another low light from this particular session. I think, in my opinion, what you're looking at is whether it's Governor Dorman or Governor Fallin after the November election. I think whoever's elected governor is looking at another 2 to 4 years of really tight, ugly budgets for core functions of government. Well, that was a real disappointment. I think the responsibility there obviously lies at the feet of the Speaker. He chose not to call the bill up when it passed overwhelmingly in the state Senate, and had, in my opinion, anywhere between 60 to 70 yes votes in the state House. It could have been done, and we could have put this behind us. The Speaker will argue that, well, we needed that $40 million of unclaimed property money to be able to fund other things, and I will stipulate that there's some truth, there's some veracity to that. But there was $15 million that our caucus was willing to sign on to, a 15-15-10 program where you pay $15 million each of the next 2 years and $10 the last year to get the project done, so that you could get those private dollars that are committed to go ahead and flow into the project and move forward. We could have done that. At the end of the day, they put $15 million which could have been used for the cultural center. They just put it into a maintenance revolving fund to be spent by whomever at whomever's decision. And so if the speaker were to say, well, we just simply couldn't get it done because we had other priorities, I'd argue that that's not exactly accurate. And unfortunately, politics were played with the lives of children. And some might say, well, the defeat of that bill was politics. No, what we understood was we want real action to go out and help to protect all 100% of the children in the state of Oklahoma school system. The bill that the governor got behind didn't cost the state $1. She was going to put the entire onus on the backs of senior citizens, farmers, and ranchers to go in and raise taxes on themselves to pay for it. We thought that was an inappropriate funding mechanism to require those folks to do that instead of using state dollars to fund that. And it only also applied to 3% of the school districts in the state, leaving 97% of the school districts sort of high and dry. And so from our perspective, we knew that it was a bad funding formula. It was a bad bill that was only going to be used to go out and run some TV commercial in a gubernatorial campaign. We said that bill needed to be defeated so that we could come back next session and put some real dollars up front into a storm shelter program that all of our school children can take advantage of. Yeah, I think when they finally crack this nut open, there's going to be a lot more problems in the state capitol than what they originally anticipated. And you can even ask the Capitol architect, Dwayne Mass, will say that very thing to you. He says, there's really no guarantee. We think we'll need $120 million to start. There's $40 million worth of contingencies built into that, but it could be far beyond that. Our caucus, while we're glad that we're going to be moving forward with that, our caucus is disappointed in the way that it was done this year. Our whole position from several years ago to today hasn't changed. We do not oppose a bond proposal for the capital repairs. However, we do oppose a bond proposal in the same year that they've decided to cut $266 million worth of income taxes. We think that's being disingenuous with the people of Oklahoma to go back to them and say, oh, we can afford a tax cut, but we can't afford to the tune of $266 million, but we can't afford $120 million worth of pay-as-you-go money for the capital. We thought that was basically lying to the people of Oklahoma, and for years the majority of the Republican caucus thought the same, and they pushed back on those attempts. But this year I guess they finally decided that they're okay with what I believe is blatant hypocrisy.